Good morning. Did you miss me? I missed you too. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Birmingham. Hello, all of our folks online. It's so good to see each of you this morning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are today, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. To all who are here this morning, welcome home. I'd like to extend a special invitation to each of you to sign up for our church retreat coming up at the end of the month at the Mountain in Highlands, North Carolina. This is a fabulous way to get to know your church community a little bit better. And we're going to be sending out a draft schedule and such this week, and there will be a slideshow of pictures from last year to kind of let you know some of the things that happened last year. There are scholarships available and space is limited, so please sign up as soon as you're interested. Please ensure that you have a connection card from the order of service for the sermon this morning. And a pin, so if you need one of those two things, you have until the sermon to collect them. Do not pass them in during the offertory like normal. We're going to be talking about what's on the connection card this morning. And for those of you online, Mike will be providing a link in the chat. So please, pull that up in whatever way is possible. I'm so glad to be with you all this morning. Turning it over to Mark for the rest of the announcements.
We appreciate your attention to this morning's announcements. You'll find announcements in your order of service or on the slides for those of you at home. If you require accommodations during our service this morning, our ushers are available to assist. There are a lot of fabulous events happening at the church as we launch this fall, so please read your order of service closely. Next Tuesday at noon, Reverend Julie will launch the first UUA Common Read discussion of To Fund Fear by Zach Norris. If you still need to pick up a copy, there are copies in the church office for a suggested donation of $16. On August 21st, we are hosting a fundraiser for Chocolate Milk Mommies, an organization in Birmingham devoted to black maternal health care. Some of you may remember their visit to us in 2019. The fundraiser will include a 30-minute documentary called Laboring with Hope, with discussion following. Please invite your friends and anyone you know who would be interested in supporting maternal health care. Next week, we celebrate our backpack blessing, so bring your backpacks and briefcases to be blessed. We have the following special announcements. I welcome Katie Fagan from Black Warrior Riverkeeper to speak.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie. I'm with Black Warrior Riverkeeper. We are an environmental nonprofit that works to protect and restore the Black Warrior River, but also the entire watershed, so all the creeks and streams that feed into it. The Black Warrior River is just a bit west to us, but it starts about an hour north, and we have a bunch of creeks and streams around here, Valley Creek, Village Creek, 5 Mile, and all of that flows into the Black Warrior River. That eventually flows all the way down to the Tombigbee and then the Gulf of Mexico. We work to protect and restore it, not only for all the fabulous wildlife we have in it, but also because it's a major source of drinking water. A lot of people fish and eat there. We like to swim the lakes that we have, like Lake Tuscaloosa and Lake Holt, and Smith Lake. So we want to make sure that it's clean for everyone, so that we can all enjoy it, because water is life, and everything that we do is connected some way back to water. So even if your closest connection is just the water out of the tap, we like to have everyone involved in keeping that clean. And we do that through monitoring and taking samples out of the river for pollution stuff. We also have a lot of volunteer things we do. About 2 years ago, we really started our volunteer litter cleanup project that has gone pretty intense in Birmingham, and we're extending it out over the watershed. But we do litter cleanups along the creeks and also along all the roadways, because any litter you see, if you have a big rain event or a wind event, it goes into the storm drains. it ends up in the creeks and the rivers around us. So we like to help pick that up. Not only because it can harm the wildlife, but it can also have chemicals that leach into our water and then into the fish we eat. We also have people volunteer to write letters to the editor, to sign up for our action alert teams when we have big missions going on, such as public hearings or when there is new developments being planned. So we just really, really rely on everyone in our watershed to help clean it up. There's 5 of us on staff, so it is really a group effort for everyone that lives in the watershed, which is about 300 miles top to bottom. So we would love to have, anyone who would like to help us or spread the word about it. And you can reach out to us or look on our website if you want to look more into the details of the watershed and the issues that are affecting it. But I really thank you guys for having me here today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
The Prelude prepares us for worship. Please rise in the body or spirit for lighting of the chalice. Our opening words are by scientist and naturalist Ursula Goodenough, who wrote The Sacred Depths of Nature. Tales of natural emergence are far more magical than traditional miracles. Emergence is inherent in everything that is alive, allowing our yearnings for supernatural miracles to be subsumed by our joy in the countless miracles that surround us. Please, I'll have a board member to do the offertory.
In the spirit of inclusivity and welcome, please greet those around you, especially those you may not recognize.
Please be seated for the opening words. Each of us, by our work here, contributes to a movement of love. May love hold and heal those who need to be held and healed. May love guide more and more people every day. We light our chalice this morning, knowing that we are blessed to be in the business of growing love. May our work together bless the world. May John come to do the offertory.
Good morning. I'm John Laurent, a member of the board. Our church is supported by those who call our church home and by those who support the efforts of our church to change our world for the better. If this is your first time with us, please pass the plate. We are just glad you're here. If you wish to join our church this morning, please come up during the offertory to sign the membership book. We share our cash plate every Sunday with organizations whose work reflects UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equality for all. Today's Share the Plate will be for Black Warrior River Keepers, whom you just heard about. We appreciate your donations, either by placing them in the plate or by making your donation to the church or by using PenPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Our Venmo account is at UUCBHAM. Our Zelle account is office@uucbhm.org. Please designate whether your offering is for UUCBHAM or Black River Keepers. Thank you for your generous support of our church and our Share the Plate recipient. May we give in love and hope.
Now is that time in our community when we lift up what is on our hearts, whether joy or sorrow, so that we can hold it together as part of this beloved community. For those of you online, you may begin sharing your joys and sorrows in the chat, and remember to hold one another in love by putting parentheses around the name. For those of you in person today, you are now invited to come forward and drop a stone in honor or in memory of what is on your heart today. Please come forward. Today we have many people to lift up in our community this morning. We lift up Susan Betke, who is having a mastectomy tomorrow to help battle the breast cancer that she has. Please keep her in your thoughts and hearts. Dick Segreto is having surgery on the 18th. He's with us here this morning. We also lift up Marianne Schmitz and BB Roberts, who continue to recover from surgery. Wanzetta Flowers and Gil DeCumos and his family, all of whom are suffering with COVID. And that is just the ones that I'm aware of coming back to work. So please keep all of these folks in your hearts and minds this week. And if you have updates that you'd like for me to share with the congregation, please let me know. Please take this moment to hear a spoken meditation followed by a moment of silence. Today's meditation was written by the Reverend Peter Morales, the former UUA president. What does deep spirituality feel like to you? Spirituality is impossible to define and difficult to describe. For me, it feels like connection. Connection to myself, to others around me, to the earth and all of creation. Connection to myself feels like deep peace, awareness, calm, authenticity. Connection to others feels like compassion, community, acceptance, and enduring love. Spirituality is not an idea, it is an experience. When I experience connection, dividing lines disappear. Inner conflict gives way to integrity. The line that separates my individuality from others fades. We become one. I find connections with my deepest self in times of solitary practice and reflection. I find connection with others in community, often in worship. All the great spiritual traditions teach this. Today, the connection with creation, with the earth and the cosmos may be the most difficult. We live in artificial, controlled environments that separate us from the natural world. More than humans in any other time, we live separated from the natural world, the world from which we emerged and that sustains our lives. We so very much need to experience our world. We need to let go of controlling our world and allow ourselves to be one with it. We find ourselves when we lose ourselves. May we connect, really connect. When we do, it changes everything. Amen and blessed be. Will the children please come forward?
Hello, everyone. Does anybody else want to come forward? I have lots of friends up here today, so I'm kind of excited. Hi, friends. Hi, friends at home. I like to wave to them. So I have a story to share with everyone today. Are we super excited? Thanks, Finn. My daughter is super excited. That's good. So, when we're born, we don't really have a belief system set up, generally speaking. when it comes to religion, at least. So those are things that we start to decide on once we get here. And we kind of learn those from the people around us, like our friends and our family, or maybe something we read, or even sometimes our Sunday school as a church. We learn these things. We collect ideas about stars and comets and where we all began. Good and bad, true and false, right and wrong, what's healthy and unhealthy. We learn all these things as we grow up, right? Do you feel like you learn new stuff a lot, y'all? I'm still learning lots and lots of things, like how to turn my phone on and off. I still need help. Things like that. But also right and wrong. Sometimes I do that wrong too, but that's okay. And all these beliefs, as we learn, we kind of put them in a belief bag. I have mine right here. It's very subtle. This is my belief bag. Do you all have a belief bag? No? Do you all have a belief bag? No? Well, let's pretend like it's a virtual in our head belief bag. But I'll show you mine because I have it with me. It's cleverly marked. So now, a lot of religions base themselves by what they believe. That's what goes inside their bag. Christians believe in Jesus, and so they keep Jesus in their bag. Muslims believe in Allah and the prophets. Buddhists believe in the Four Noble Truths, things like that. But Unitarian Universalists don't really have just one belief, right? Do you all believe the same thing? Oh, I see a lot of no's. Do you all believe the same thing? Not necessarily. What makes us different, though, is how we carry our beliefs, how we carry them, because there are different ways of holding your belief bag. For example, some people hold their bag like this, and they don't let anybody put anything new in it. They don't share any new ideas. They're like, oh, don't look in my bag. Don't see my stuff. And they don't want anything new that could threaten what's inside of it, and they've got their world all wrapped up and closed, and that's it. Their belief bag is settled. That's not how I carry mine, so let's see. And then there's other people who are really not very careful with their bag, and they just kind of throw it and drop it and let anything go in there, things that they read, and then, internet, they just put it in their bag. Or maybe what they watch on Fox News, they just put it in their bag. They don't really think about it. They're just there it is. They're not very careful with it. I also don't hold my bag that way, so, okay. And then there's other people who carry their bag, and it seems really nice. This is a friendly bag. This is lovely, don't you? It's beautiful. My beliefs are, I believe in chocolate cake and peace and happiness. Cool? But you don't like chocolate cake? How can you not like chocolate cake? And they use their bag as a weapon because you don't believe the same thing. I can't believe it. You don't like chocolate. We can't hang out. So, we hold ours a little differently. We kind of keep it open. We have it open. And we carry them out in front of us so we can see what goes inside our bag. And we put new things that we learn about in our bag. And sometimes we have to take the old things out because that's not really how we feel anymore. But we want to keep track of it. We don't want to let just anybody put things in our bag, because what if they put chocolate cake in your bag? That'd be bad. So we're a little more careful with our bag, and we don't want to just leave it out for anybody to do terrible things to. So that's kind of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist in a roundabout way. When people ask you what you believe or what your church believes, you can tell them that it's less important what you believe in and more important about how you hold those beliefs. kind of friendly and opening and welcome. And then it's how you acquire those beliefs and how you live those beliefs and what you do with those beliefs that's most important. Ta-da! So, that's what's my belief bag. How about y'all? That's the end. So now everybody go get your belief bag, and we'll be good to go? All right. Well, could we get you fabulous folks to hum us downstairs?
It is so good to be back with you all this morning, and thank you for the space to recover and renew ahead of the new church year. You know, it takes a good 2 weeks for me to start relaxing, to try to relax, to try to get all that church stuff, you know, out of my mind for a minute. And it took my dear 3-year-old equally long to understand that no, I was not going to work that morning. But it's good for us to have that time of renewal. Our question for this morning is, why did you come here this morning? Last fall, the board and the long-range planning committee and I had a lot of discussions leading up to opening the church safely. You remember last fall was our time that we started meeting in person again. We had to think about health concerns, disabilities, and at that time, none of our children could even be vaccinated. This year, the topics at hand as we launch into the fall seem much more normal. Calendars, schedules, classes, etc. But as I considered the evolution of this spiritual community, the image that kept coming to mind for me was the pupa stage of a butterfly, the one that exists inside a cocoon. For over 2 years, we have been in survival mode, both as individuals and as a community, minimizing distractions, cocooning ourselves away with Netflix and all the other streaming services, watching, waiting for the moment when we could finally emerge again. I also recognize that many of you have been ready for quite some time, but we as a collective have taken a little bit longer while we waited for vaccines, for better treatments, for updated understandings of what it was that we were actually fighting against. And I realized, you know, coming into this new space where we haven't been for a couple of years, that in order for our staff and our volunteers to do our jobs most effectively, we need some feedback from you. Before the leaves begin falling, before the footballs are heaved, and before we truly emerge from our cocoon. So today, if you would please pull out your connection card, as I mentioned early in the service. Folks online, if you missed the earlier announcement, Mike's going to put the link in the chat for you. There's the question down at the bottom, and I would ask that you would not fill it out right now, but you would hear what I have to say first. And I know that's hard, I really do. So for our folks online, the link is bit.ly/UUCB connection with UUCBC capitalized. It's also underneath the video in case you are watching us later. My challenge to you, if you will accept it, is to not mark your answer until the end of my sermon, because I'm going to ask you to pick only one answer. I know. Do you feel challenged yet? The prompt is, what draws you to this community this morning? So let's dive into the first option. Is your motivation of being here, of coming to this community, getting out of bed on a Sunday morning, is your motivation to socialize with like-minded individuals? My younger child can work a room better than anyone I've seen. And if you met him, you know that if you're giving him your attention, he is going to milk it. He is going to tell you every fascinating thing he has done for the last 2 weeks. He is going to tell you about his favorite band, Blink-182. And he's going to tell you his name, which is not his given name, and that he is 12 years old. And he's going to ask your name and probably how old you are. Spoiler alert, if you haven't met him, he's about to turn 4. My child has yet to be flummoxed by people who don't like kids or don't even want to talk to him. He has no idea, as many of us do, that it has grown a little more difficult to engage in small talk with strangers. Because before long, you've discovered whether they prefer Home Depot or Lowe's, Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and where they spend their Sunday mornings, usually with an invitation attached. The majority of individuals who walk through these doors on a Sunday morning, virtually or in person, are craving a sense of community. They've already done the research on our website. They've already checked out our social media. They already intend to join. The only part visitors are checking out when they walk through the door is whether we will greet them and whether we really are who we say we are. I do have that question all the time from visitors. Really? Really? This is really what we believe? Yes. So finding like-minded individuals in Alabama is for most of us a relief. I still remember a meeting of our humanist club where a young adult was crying with joy when they realized that all of these gray-haired elders in the room were also flaming liberal atheists. Because now they had a future worth aspiring to. It goes against that cultural notion of all old folks are conservative. Well, not in this community. If your motivation to be in this community is socialization, if that's what you end up picking at the end of this sermon, I invite you to act on that. We have a new open small group starting soon, several short-term classes, and some social events that we would love to schedule if we had a little help. Making friends as an adult, the research has shown, takes 7 encounters to make a new friend. Your socialization and search for community, in turn, gives other people the community they also need. It's a beautiful, life-giving circle. See how that works? Your next option for this morning is your motivation to be inspired. Perhaps you are here hoping to hear a good word or a melodic tune. Perhaps you need that spark to help you through a tough time, or a glimmer of hope in a world that desperately tries to choke it out of us every single day. Perhaps you need folks who will sit with you in your grief, who feel your pain. This room is filled with some of the most brilliant, loving, powerful, creative people I know. You inspire me, and every week I try to return the favor. I can't promise illusions or miracles or good jokes. I'm not going to make grand gestures knocking people over on the forehead or hitting people with various books. We try really, really hard to model consent and respect for others' ideas, and we firmly believe in bodily autonomy. However we emerge this fall, we want it to be the fruit of whatever inspiration happens here on Sunday mornings. I encourage you to help spread the word. Share quotes or pictures or videos of what happens in service. Your excitement, your inspiration is contagious. Your third choice is your motivation to deepen your spiritual path. I know several of you just want to skip right over this one. Yeah, it's true, it's true. But here, we are open to the fact that that path is defined in many, many different ways. Your spiritual path may be creating beautiful things with glass or paint. You may be into forest bathing or to protesting injustice. Your spiritual path may be meditation or studying ancient texts or caring for other people. Regardless of how you identify, you have a path that makes you feel whole, opens your mind, jostles your soul, just as Reverend Morales talked about in our meditation. One of the exciting opportunities discussed this summer is the possibility of the UU Church of Tuscaloosa yoking with us this fall. They are excited about learning from you and sharing what they have learned, and they will bring more voices as part of that transformation. They will bring more ideas of ways we can deepen our spiritual path. Our two churches are already discussing collective meditations, labyrinths, rituals, and other things. If you are motivated by deepening your spiritual path, explore our offerings. See what connects you to the universe and reminds you of how wonderful and worthy you are. Perhaps your motivation is to surround your children with people who share your values. Now, obviously, this is for those of us who have non-adult children or, maybe recent adult children. This is for all of our parents of children and youth, and also we have to get back into the habit, starting at in-gathering, of keeping our children here until 12:15. Because that's how they reap the benefits of being in a place that encourages independent thought, that teaches good values, that creates a safe community for them, that helps them to discern what's going to go in their belief bag, as Courtney talked about. Many of our parents don't realize that what your children experience when they leave in the middle of the service is snack time and playtime, which is also really, really important. But the lesson part comes after the service, when our RE teachers who are experiencing service get to go downstairs and be a part of that transformation. And if you're going to be here until 12:15 anyway, parents, because you know how important these lessons are for your kiddo, you need to revisit all the other questions. You need to figure out what you're going to do until 12:15. Whether you attend a class, walk the grounds, chat during coffee hour, use that time, that valuable time that all parents need to feed your own soul for once. And I say that, being one of those people. The next option, our fifth option, is that maybe your motivation is to collectively serve the greater community. A lot of folks come to this church because of our social justice efforts. Many of us, as empathetic people, are burdened by the state of the world. From Brittany Griner's completely unjust sentence of 9 years, to climate change, to the growing astronomical disparity between the uber rich and the poor, we are all overwhelmed sometimes. And, It was already bad. And then in June, we watched as the encroachments of church and state that we in Alabama already experienced way too regularly before the Supreme Court abandoned us and chose theocracy over democracy. Yes, there is work to be done. And we are a church who believes in the power of sex education and family planning. And as such, you'll see a new addition to our bathrooms. It says, for those of you without eagle vision, this church supports sex ed and family planning at all levels. If you need more assistance, please reach out to Reverend Julie or the Justice Committee. If you don't know what I'm holding up, we have an adult OWL sex education program starting in the spring. But these are in the bathroom for your use. And because we provide help to all people who decide whether to take on a life-threatening temporary health issue, because our religious tradition empowers us to do so. In 2 weeks, we're going to host a fundraiser for Chocolate Milk Mommies, a group devoted to empowering maternal health care for Black women. We need hosts and people to attend this important event. We need you to invite your friends. The state of being a Black woman who is pregnant in Alabama is absolutely very, very, very scary. And we want to make it a little bit better by supporting this fabulous organization. And within our community, those were all ideas outside, if that's how you're answering and thinking about this question. But within our community, there's a new opportunity to serve this community, to help this community thrive. When I arrived in 2018, the board and I did a lot of untangling in an attempt to provide a more practical and healthier workload for our board members. What we did not do was create better systems of communication in and around our vital ministry areas. And so this fall, we are launching our Beacon program. Meeting on Sunday afternoons once a month, we're going to look at many aspects of church life. We're going to supplement this by short readings and short journalings. And in May, you'll have an opportunity to decide whether you'd like to serve the church for 1 or 2 years as a beacon. Yes, it's a word I just made up. But it sounds good, and it works with the chalice. So here we go. It's a resource for people and teams within our church, bolstering communication, fostering healthy leadership, and good boundaries. Beacons are to our church what a church elder or a deacon or a lay leader might be in some other tradition, right? Most of you have heard of something like that somewhere else. Not a heavy load, just the power of presence and care about this church. And we need you to apply for this because we want you to be thinking about why you want to do this. So I encourage you to do that as well. You have an insert with that. Our last one is to discuss, maybe your motivation is to discuss the important topics of our day. I invite you to come to the mountain where there's a lot of great conversation in lots of formal and informal ways. And another way to discuss the important topics to you is that next week we're going to participate in one of our Unitarian Universalist traditions, the question box. Now, you can submit questions starting today. I'm going to put this out in the narthex. There's index cards inside. Put your name, put your question, and next week during the sermon, I will be answering your questions. Now, your question may be something really easy, something that you thought maybe other people, maybe everyone else knows. I'm not going to list your name in the sermon unless you really want me to. If you'll put your name in case I have questions about your question, right? You can also email your questions for all of you online to our church administrator, Kim, at office@uucbham.org. But I'm going to answer these questions live in the pulpit next week. So you have a whole week to think of your questions. You can even bring them next Sunday morning, put them in the question box, and we'll talk about this next week. You could ask about church life, theology, social concerns, deep questions you have yourself, random questions. I'm open to it. I will answer as many questions as I have in the space of the sermon. I hope that you'll enjoy this opportunity to ask your questions, because questions are welcome in this church. They should always be welcome in this church. So I know this is a lot. I know. We have a lot going on, and this is only a fraction of what is actually going on in this church right now. And that's exciting, because that means our church is coming back from this pandemic in an exciting, enthusiastic way. There's stuff going on. I'm not telling any of you to get involved in everything, and that's part of why I'm asking you to choose. Narrow it down for yourself. Don't make yourself do everything. Encourage yourself to do the things that give you life. You'll notice that we have an other box listed. Yes, we are Unitarian Universalists. And if I gave you a multiple choice question and did not put an other box, I would hear about it. So, for those of you who just cannot put yourself into the box of one of these answers, right here, my other, why you come here. And there is also not a box that says to volunteer somewhere, because we cannot do any of this without volunteers. We need volunteers as simple as showing up and greeting people on Sunday mornings. We need volunteers to have a role in event planning. Our staff team does a lot of the work for you, but we also just need extra hands. Pandemic Church was beneficial in one huge way, in that it gave a lot of volunteers from the church a very big break. But in-person church is different. We're going to need everybody's help doing just a little bit so that we can do a lot. If you need assistance figuring out how you want to help, let me know. All right, so now is the time. Big lead up. We've talked about it all service. I want you to get out your connection card. For those of you online, click the link and pick one. Now, I know, some of you just cannot handle it and you're going to check 3 or 6. But please, try to narrow it down for us so that those of us who are planning things can have some help in, wow, this many church members want to do this. Know that every week, and make sure you have your name on here. Every week, we look at these connection cards in our staff meeting. So if you have a random, you want to let someone know about something, you're thinking of it during church and you don't want to forget, you can always write it on here. We'll follow up with you, okay? We read these every week, and that's not just this week. Your choices help direct our focus and our work. Does anyone need a pen? We all sharing? Everyone's good? Okay. The future has yet to show us what our post-pandemic butterfly self will look like. We are peeking out of the warmth and the shadow of the cocoon, gnawing away at the side of our habitat. We are ready to bust free. Let us explore one of these opportunities and learn how we can share with one another. May you find ways of sharing your voice and offering direction as we move forth into the future. May we emerge into our renewed, beautiful sense of community. May it be so.
in body or in spirit for extinguishing of the chalice, and remain standing through the benediction. We all emerge from, dwell within, are transformed by, and called back to love. May your mind be humbled before this mystery. May your heart grow hopeful by it. May you be sustained by this love always.
May you feel held by this community. May you find the ways to connect with this community, with each other, and with our earth. Go in peace.